The Balakot Airstrike, which was executed in response to the heinous Pulwama attack that killed 46 Central Reserve Police Force personnel as well as the perpetrator, commemorates its 4th anniversary on February 26, 2023. On February 26, 2019, the Indian Air Force carried out a bombing strike in Pakistan's Balakot area, targeting Pakistan-based terrorist organization Jaish-e-Mohammed in an effort to avenge the killings of CRPF soldiers in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama. The airstrike was carried out to eliminate the terrorist training camp and to send a strong message to Pakistan against supporting and harboring terrorists. The airstrike was considered a significant achievement for India and was widely praised by the international community for its precision and effectiveness. Today, on the 4th anniversary of the Balakot airstrike, India remembers the brave soldiers who lost their lives in the Pulwama attack and honors the valiant efforts of the Indian Air Force in protecting the country's sovereignty and integrity. To avoid detection by Pakistan's airborne warning and control system and air defense systems, India used a combination of tactics. Firstly, the Indian Air Force was able to gather accurate intelligence on the location of the terrorist camp, which allowed them to plan the operation carefully and carry it out with precision. Secondly, the Indian Air Force used a technique known as terrain masking to avoid detection by Pakistani radars and air defense systems. This involved flying low and using the terrain to avoid detection by enemy radars. The Mirage 2000 fighter jets were also equipped with sophisticated electronic warfare systems that helped to jam Pakistani radars and disrupt their air defense systems. The Indian Air Force carried out the operation in a swift and decisive manner, giving Pakistani air defense systems little time to respond. Finally, there was 16 aircraft entered POK, including 4 for escort duty, 4 others remained as backup. 5 Israeli-made Spice 2000 bombs were dropped around 15 kilometers inside POK, striking the Jammu camp near Balakot, and the jets returned to an airbase in the western sector. Nevertheless, 4 Mirages, armed with Mica RF and IR air-to-air missiles, remained on the ground until the other 12 aircraft returned to Indian airspace, lest Pakistan fighters engage. The entire operation, from the aircraft's entry into POK to its return to India, took roughly 21 minutes. And this element of surprise, combined with the use of advanced technology and tactics, allowed the Indian Air Force to carry out the Balakot strike successfully and avoid significant losses. The Indian government claimed that the airstrike was a preemptive strike to prevent another terrorist attack from Jammu, and that it was carried out in self-defense. The Balakot airstrike was a significant event because it was the first time since the 1971 Indo-Pakistani War that the Indian Air Force had crossed the LOC to conduct an airstrike in Pakistan. It also demonstrated India's willingness to take military action against terrorist groups operating from Pakistani soil. India hailed the airstrike as a successful retaliation against terrorism, while Pakistan denied that any terrorist camp was destroyed and criticized India's violation of its sovereignty. Opposition leaders. Several senior opposition leaders issued a shocking clean chit to Pakistan. Some politicians claim that terrorism has no country and indicated that Pakistan has no role in the Pulwama terrorist attack, and criticized Prime Minister Modi for his handling of the situation and cast doubts on the subsequent surgical strikes carried out by India.
Who provided the kilograms of RDX, the Mi-4 carbines and rocket launchers to the homegrown so-called terrorists? Homegrown so-called terrorists.
While some politicians criticized security personnel of incompetence to the Pulwama terrorist attack, others suggested that the attack was orchestrated or carried out for political advantage by the ruling BJP, particularly in the run-up to elections 2019, and some demanded proof of the Balakot airstrikes. The majority of Indian media supported the Indian government's decision to carry out the attack, but some denounced it as an attempt to boost the governing party's image, claiming that the BJP administration used the Balakot airstrike as a propaganda weapon to get political mileage. Some Western media believes that following the Pulwama incident of 2019, the Indian media acted as a propaganda machine for the BJP. Western media reported that there were significant discrepancies and misinformation in the Indian media's reporting on the Pulwama attack and the subsequent Balakot airstrike. They said Indian news organizations relied heavily on anonymous sources within the government and intelligence community, and there were no independent investigations conducted to verify the claims made by these sources. They also said that the Indian government bears some responsibility for this situation, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi did not directly address the nation during the crisis, and official press briefings were not sufficiently informative or transparent. They imply that the popularity of anonymous sources in India, who are eager to reveal sensitive and sometimes contradicting information to journalists, indicates a bigger problem with information dissemination. This issue threatens national security and public faith in government and media. They imply that anonymous sources raise doubts about the authenticity and trustworthiness of information, which can influence public opinions of key problems. However, media outlets around the world sometimes obtain information from anonymous sources. But it is important for journalists to use their professional judgment in deciding when and how to use anonymous sources, taking into account the potential risks and benefits of doing so. Additionally, it is essential that journalists work to verify the accuracy of information obtained from anonymous sources through other means, such as corroborating the information with other sources or documents. Many nations, including Australia, the European Union, the United Kingdom, and Israel, have pressed Pakistan to tighten down on terrorists operating from its land, and have emphasized their condemnation of the attack that took place in Pulwama. And the United States, Mike Pompeo, and France had a strong position, said that it backed Indian operations against terrorism, and demanded Pakistan to stop allowing its territory to be utilized by terrorists, and praised India's action in Balakot by declaring that it supported Indian efforts against terrorism. While many in India praised the Balakot strike as a show of strength and a response to cross-border terrorism, however, it's unfortunate that some opposition politicians chose to politicize the tragedy, falsely accusing Prime Minister Modi of being behind the attack. These same leaders went further, shamelessly undermining the Indian Army's role in preventing such attacks. These leaders questioned the role of the Indian Army in the attack and spread a narrative suggesting that the Indian Army was responsible for the suicide bomber joining a terrorist group. To add insult to injury, they also questioned the bravery and valor of the Indian Air Force following the successful Balakot airstrike. It's a shame that in a time of national crisis, these leaders chose to put their political interests above the welfare of the nation and the sacrifices of brave soldiers.